Coming up on WFT Midday, the government shutdown reaches an end. It should take some time to get the federal government back to full speed.
Plus, an ICE operation results in the arrest of over 200 people in Florida. The state says it worked with ICE to make the arrests.
And closer to home, a Gainesville restaurant is trying to help Jamaicans recovering from Hurricane Melissa. The Gainesville community is coming together to support the cause. WFT Midday starts now.
You're watching WUFT Midday.
You're taking a live look at Capitol Hill, where things are starting to return to normal. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history has come to an end. While some functions of the federal government are able to return quickly, others may take some more time. The Agricultural Secretary says SNAP benefits should go out by Monday at the latest. In the meantime, some agencies warn it could take another week to make their staffs whole. The airline industry will also need some time to get back into full swing. Welcome to WFT Midday. I'm Jelianys Trujillo.
And I'm Jelianys Ramos. Federal workers and their families are trying to get back on track after that shutdown. NBC's Alice Barr tells us how much it costs Americans mentally and financially.
As the federal government grinds back into gear after the longest ever shutdown, federal workers are getting back on the job.
Been difficult. I mean, it's a lot of uncertainty. People going to work, people not going to work, whether the government's open, whether the government's not open, whether flights are going to fly on time.
With back pay expected to roll out this weekend through early next week for furloughed and essential workers who haven't had a paycheck since,
oh God, I don't know, October, the beginning of October. I want to be able to pay my bills.
Major airlines say they're ready to ramp their schedules back up to normal once the FAA lifts a 6% flight reduction that's continued cancellations to ease staffing shortages and ensure there are enough air traffic controllers on the job. As the Homeland Security Secretary handed out $10,000 bonuses to TSA workers who kept coming to work without pay.
For stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day.
Federal contractors do not get back pay.
It just piles on.
And even those who will have to dig out from the past 6 weeks.
You've had things that have gone in the rears. You may have had to borrow against your credit cards.
Millions of Americans are also waiting for their full SNAP federal food assistance benefits.
Hopefully by the end of this week, most will receive it at the very latest on Monday.
The swell in demand at food pantries, a clear illustration of a shutdown's real-world consequences, with the clock ticking until government funding runs out again at the end of January. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Here in North Central Florida, the city of Gainesville is giving $100,000 to a North Central Florida food bank. WFT's Ava Garcia looks into how these funds are helping the community.
The shelves at Bread of the Mighty Food Bank are stacked up, but Director Patrick Dodds is still concerned. He says the loss of SNAP benefits hit hard, leaving some families in the dark.
There's, I think, a lot of panic and uncertainty. There's a lot of people who are struggling. The cost of groceries are more expensive than they've been in a long time.
In order to keep the bank running, food needs to be consistently purchased. Dodd says the bank has seen a 30% decrease in the amount of food coming in, paired with a 100% increase in people needing assistance. With lines out of the pantry doors, monetary allocations like the $100,000 the city of Gainesville approved helps keep the supply chain moving.
We've been really fortunate that the leaders in North Central Florida have recognized the emergency that's happening in our community, and so they've stepped up.
Now that the government shutdown is over, SNAP benefits are expected to start up again. Until then, the food bank is carrying the weight for some Gainesville families.
That was Eva Garcia reporting. It's been hard picking what to wear this week. We've seen almost 30 degrees differences between our high and low temperatures. UF forecaster Kennedy Lerner is live in the weather studio. Kennedy, we've had to put our jackets and sweaters away in the afternoon, but at least the skies are nice and clear.
Yes, that's definitely been a struggle this week, and it's going to continue as we drop at the nighttime, but not in the daytime. The key is to layer up, but right now we're feeling very nice, no clouds in the sky, 77 degrees, so you're going to take that jacket off now. It's good to be outside, play with the kids, do some homework, 44 is our dew point, so this is very fall-like weather we're feeling. And we can feel this all across north central Florida in the mid to upper 70s. In Gainesville, we're sitting at 77, Ocala 75, 73 in Stark. We can see some lower 70s up on the coast in Jacksonville and St. Augustine, but this is because of that coastal weather wind that's coming in. Our highs not getting much higher than we are right now, 76 in Gainesville, 78 in Ocala. We're going to stay below 80, which is pretty good, very fall-like. Our lows going to drop to 48, 47 in Ocala. You might need a light jacket, but nothing too concerning. Coming up, though, we have a Friday night outlook for you, some drought monitoring, and some weekend activities.
The Trump administration is challenging California's efforts to redraw its congressional maps ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Last week, California voters approved a ballot measure championed by Governor Gavin Newsom. The measure allows state Democratic lawmakers to make new congressional lines. That would make 5 U.S. House seats more favorable for Democrats. The Trump administration's involvement signals an escalation in the legal challenge. Mid-decade Republican redistricting efforts have played out across several states.
A proposed rule change would allow college athletes and staff to bet on professional sports. WFT's Midday reporter Arteria Hicks is live in the studio to tell us how long the NCAA has to decide.
1 week, Genesis. That's how long the NCAA has to decide regarding whether to adopt this change. 2/3 of Division I member schools have the opportunity to rescind the proposal that would greenlight pro sports bets. Paperwork must be submitted by next Friday. If the needed 241 out of the 361 D1 schools do not respond, the rule change will go into effect November 22nd. The proposal comes as recent sports gambling accusations spread through college basketball, Major League Baseball, and the NBA. Proponents of the change said it's not an endorsement of sports gambling. They believe it's a recognition of its growing role in the sports environment. It's important to note that betting on college sports will remain strictly prohibited. Live in the studio, Arteria Hicks, WUFT News.
Hundreds of undocumented immigrants have been arrested in Florida. Federal officials say the operation targeted violent offenders, many of them accused of sex crimes. Ivan Taylor reports on how ICE worked with the state to make the arrests.
These are some of the 230 men arrested in the state of Florida during a 10-day operation between immigration agents with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
Operation Dirtbag to go after people who have attacked children in our communities. In just 10 days, we've been able to remove, in partnership with the state of Florida, over 230 of the worst heinous criminals from their streets.
These are some of the worst child molesters, rapists, murderers, convicted criminals that have been in and out of your community for a long time.
During the operation, Immigration Custom Enforcement agents partnered with FDLE officers and conducted the arrest.
I was in awe of the number of sex offenders and predators who were on our registry, living in our communities, who were here illegal.
Let's start with Armando Rodriguez Garcia, a registered sexual predator convicted of lewd and lascivious assault on 8-year-old. He has been arrested a total of 10 times.
They say they found people who had served their time and had not complied with the requirement of registering as sex offenders or moved to other locations.
So if you are not living where you're supposed to live at and you're a sexual offender or sexual predator, I suggest you go to your local sheriff and re-register yourself.
Authorities say the suspects arrested were originally from several different countries, including Cuba, Venezuela, and Ukraine.
The Marion County Sheriff's Office says you should expect more law enforcement at schools in the Shores area. MCSO is investigating a shooting earlier this morning. It happened around Oak Lane and Locust Pass Trail. The Sheriff's Office says it will release updates when it gets more information.
Ocala Fire Rescue put out a fire at a house on Southwest 54th Court Thursday afternoon. The person in the house took helpful steps to stop the fire from spreading, and OFR wants you to know how you can help. Firefighters, before they arrive, identify the room the fire is in and close the door to deprive the fire of oxygen. This also helps prevent it from spreading. OFR also recommends having a home fire plan to be more prepared. In Alachua County, ACFR says it worked with GFR to put out fires at a shed and some greenhouses earlier today. The fire was extinguished a little over 10 minutes after firefighters arrived at the scene. ACFR wants to remind you to be careful when using portable heaters to stay warm.
The Alachua County Sheriff's Office says Northeast 39th Avenue near Northeast 27th Avenue is closed because of a car crash. According to ACSO, people were injured in the crash. Authorities ask you to avoid the area and seek an alternate route.
With recovery efforts continuing in Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa, one local restaurant in Gainesville is stepping up to help. WFT's Allison Bonnemaison lets you know how you can get involved today.
Hurricane Melissa hit Jamaica in late October as a Category 5 storm. The island was leveled, and since then, Caribbean Spices' Darren Alvarenga has rallied support for his community and hometown just outside the tourist town of Negril.
And when you see that much damage being inflicted on a place that's very familiar to you, you can't help but feel like you need to do something.
Caribbean Spice, located off 13th Street in Gainesville, will serve their full menu, and any profit from orders on Friday will go to the recovery efforts in Jamaica. They are looking to provide tarps, tents, flashlights, and other essentials to those affected. As a long-standing staple of the community, Alvarenga says they're expecting a big turnout for the fundraiser.
One of the things that we're proud of at this point is that we're now serving the children of our first customers. So we have a very deep connection with the community.
Gwenwell Mingo, a lifelong customer and Bahamian native, sympathizes with the struggle of his neighbors both in Florida and in the Caribbean.
It was heartbreaking because I'm familiar with storms and hurricanes coming from Key West and the Bahamas, etc. We are very familiar with the type of storm. But this storm is really a Category 5, the strongest one to hit that country. So we know the devastation that is taking place there, and we want to support the effort.
Profits from the fundraiser are then donated to the World Central Kitchen to provide food relief on the ground.
I will relate to something that Bob Marley says, one love. We should all love one another, and I think everything will be all right.
100% of proceeds go to helping rebuild Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. The fundraiser continues through 7 p.m. today.
Stay tuned, because after the break, we're going to take a look at our Friday Night Light update, drought monitor, the weekend forecast with some activities for you, and a look at the UF vs. Ole Miss planner after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
You're taking a live look at I-75 in Suwannee County. Skies are blue as can be and temperatures are in the low 70s. UF forecaster Kennedy Lerner is live in the weather studio. Kennedy, we could see another warm-up early next week.
Yes, we're going to see that early next week, even some in the weekend, but right now we're sitting very nice blue skies, sitting at 77. Dew point 44, so it's pretty fall-like weather out. Great to be outside, do some homework. Our highs aren't reaching 80 yet, so that's good. We can see some mid to upper 70s, 76 in Gainesville, 78 Ocala. Cooler on the East Coast because of that coastal wind, but nothing concerning. It's a very nice day. Our lows are staying steady, not dropping too much into the mid 40s, upper 40s, 48 in Gainesville, 47 Ocala, 44 in Stark, but no need to worry, maybe a light jacket, but as it was earlier in the week, we should be pros at this weather at this point. High school football, we are in our playoffs in Florida, so that's so exciting, some intense games, and the weather should be very great out for that. Kickoff 62, halftime 59, fourth quarter 56. The wind should not be a concern for your passing games, and the weather is looking clear. Stay tuned for our sports segment to see who's playing where and when. This weekend, though, we are going to get into the 80s, 79 on Sunday, so we're going to be warming up. It's going to be a bit muggy, maybe some fog in the morning, so if you have some traffic, just make sure you plan it accordingly early in the mornings and you leave time for that. But really, it's going to be great weather. So we've seen that we are on average right now. 75 is our high in the fall, 51 is our low, but this weekend we're going to be around 5 degrees above this average. Just something to note, nothing concerning, but pretty cool if you think about it, if we were in the low 40s last week. Our drought monitor, we are dry. We haven't seen rain in a couple days. So just be careful if you're lighting a fire. It shouldn't be concerning, but just something to look out for as you keep moving. Now this weekend, we have a fun-filled weekend. Let's dig into some of that info for you. We have our Arts Festival this weekend. Great weather, 10 a.m. 66, 2 p.m. 77, 6 p.m. 72 degrees. So it's really nice out. You don't need a jacket. A good time for the kids, some face painting, honestly so much fun, and I would be there, let's be so real. But now let's take a look in Oxford. We have UF versus Ole Miss. So if you're traveling to the game to support our Gators, 6 p.m. is 70 degrees, 8 p.m. 66, 10 p.m. 63, and let's hope our Gators come home with the win, and some of us may be hoping that we also come home with Lane Kiffin, but we'll see how that goes. If you're staying in Gainesville, it's also very nice out, 72 at 6 p.m., 8 p.m. also 62, 10 p.m. 58. So it's great weather all around. Taking a look at our 7-day forecast, you can see that earlier in the week we are warming up into the 80s, so that's exciting. Not dropping too low, 55, but after the break we'll have more for you on the 7-day forecast.
We're officially in respiratory virus season, and it's expected to last through mid-May. But there are ways to protect against these viruses naturally. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither explains how you can give your immune system a big boost.
It's that time of year again. Respiratory virus season typically peaks between December and February, and as we get deeper into it, it's important that your body is prepared.
I am anticipating, as I think we all are, a rough respiratory season.
Dr. Sarah Nozel with the American Academy of Family Physicians says the first line of defense is vaccination. There are vaccines that protect against flu, RSV, and COVID-19, but there are also natural ways to give your immune system a boost, and that starts with getting your underlying medical conditions under control.
Do you have any medical problems that we should be preparing your asthma medications for the fall and winter? Should we be making sure your diabetes is well controlled?
Next, Nozel says make healthy choices. That includes consistent exercise, staying hydrated, and eating foods like fruits and vegetables.
We want our body to have all of the nutrients, not to be deficient in any nutrients.
Getting good quality sleep is also critical for immune system health, as is managing stress. And Nozel's final tip, make sure everyone in the family frequently washes their hands with soap and water.
When you touch your nose, your mouth, your eyes, or even your face, and your hands have not just been washed, you are likely transmitting small bits of virus to yourself throughout the virus season.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
According to new data, foreclosure filings climbed in October after sitting at historic lows in recent years. The numbers are still small, but the persistent rise in foreclosures may be a sign of crack in the housing market. Foreclosure starts at the initial phase of the process. Those rose 6% for the month and were 20% higher than the year before. Florida, South Carolina, and Illinois led the nation in state foreclosure filings.
Millions of current and former AT&T customers may qualify for part of a nearly $200 million class action settlement. This comes after two major data breaches last year exposed millions of customers' personal information. According to the settlement, the first breach in March 2024 released customers' addresses, social security numbers, and passcodes on the dark web. A second breach in July 2024 exposed call and text records. Customers impacted by both data breaches could receive up to $7,500. The deadline to file a claim is December 18th.
New versions of Cheetos and Doritos feature no artificial flavors or dyes. As a result, they will have a natural pale yellow color instead of the bright orange we're used to. The company says the snack will taste the same as the originals, which will still be available. They'll be available in Dorito Nacho Cheese, Cool Ranch flavors, and Cheeto Puffs and Flamin' Hot flavors. They hit the store shelves next month.
Toyota is recalling over 100,000 Toyota and Lexus vehicles over a potential engine failure issue. The automaker says debris from the manufacturing process could contaminate the engine. That could cause the engine to stall, increasing the risk of a crash. The recalled vehicles are the 2022 to 2024 Toyota Tundra and Lexus LX, and the 2024 Lexus GX. The vast majority of the vehicles are Tundras. Toyota says it's still working on a solution. Once a fix is ready, the company will do free repairs.
Coming up on WFT Midday, Gators football is desperately looking for a win after last week's painful loss 38-7 at Kentucky.
That's right, our sports team tells you what's in store for the Gators this weekend as they travel to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. We'll be back in just a minute.
This is Natalia Lopez with your Midday Sports.
The Gators women's basketball team pulled off a dominant win last night, defeating Samford 87-40. The Gators put on a defensive masterclass, holding Samford to 40 points and forcing 18 turnovers. Plus, Florida held the Bulldogs scoreless for over 12 minutes. Freshman forward Nidhi Yeech had a career-high 18 points, making all 8 of her shots from the field. Head coach Kelly Rae Finley spoke about how she trained for the game.
Nidhi's preparation for the last 3 or 4 days has been what's required to have great performances on the court in game time.
Florida's 4-0 start gives them momentum heading to Annapolis to take on Navy this Sunday. In high school football, the Buchholz Bobcats defeated Oviedo last night in a high-scoring showdown. The Bobcats were able to hold the Lions scoreless in the first quarter, but with a struggling defense, Oviedo were able to catch up but fell short with a final score of 49-41. Sophomore quarterback Andrew Whittemore rushed for a 66-yard touchdown and passed for another to senior Justin Williams for 37 yards. On a 9-game winning streak, the Bobcats prepare for regional semifinals next week. Florida football travels to face number 7 Ole Miss. The Gators enter this matchup 3-6 overall and 2-4 in conference play. Florida has been struggling to find their footing with a loss against Georgia and its worst loss last weekend against the Kentucky Wildcats since 1950. Billy Gonzalez prepares for a ranked Ole Miss who haven't lost at home this season. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m. tomorrow in Mississippi. Come back for First at 5 for more on tomorrow's matchup. And that's your Midday Sports. I'm Natalia Lopez. Our midday reporter Arteria Hicks is back in the studio.
Arteria, tell us what we can expect on First at 5 on Channel 5.
Hi again. We have several news of our key places in our area. In Alachua County, school board member Tina Certain defends her comments about Charlie Kirk's death to state education leaders. Plus, we'll give you a look at the Gainesville Arts Festival. It's one of the largest in North Central Florida. We will let you know when it starts. And 12 area high school football teams are in the playoffs. The WUFT sports team is clocking all that action just for you. We hope you watch. Now let's get back to Kennedy for one final look at the weather.
Looking at our 7-day forecast, we can see some nice warm weather in our forecast. Earlier next week, though, it's going to warm up into the 80s. Very much fall-like weather. Enjoy, stay cool.
Thanks for joining us for WFT Midday.
We'll see you later today for First at 5 on Channel 5. Have a great afternoon.